Hello everybody, coming to you this time from Skopelos, a beautiful island, and you'll notice my big Greek hair. It must be the shampoo over here. I mean, oh my word, I can hardly get it into a hat. So things are going on Greek style, and I just wanted to share last night's experience with you. So the Greek government put out an announcement that all cafes and restaurants were going to be closed. Only bakeries could stay open. And the locals were all shocked. They're going, we're Greeks, we need cafes. That's how we live. You know, are they mad? So I thought, well, this is going to be interesting. So I got up this morning and I went to the bakery only to find overnight every bakery has mysteriously got a coffee espresso machine complete with the barista from the cafe that's closed next door. So I ordered my coffee, which was then handed over unusually in a takeaway cup. And then you move a few steps next door where the closed cafe forgot to put its chairs away. So then you just sit where you normally sit. And so it works in its own demented fashion. God, I love this country. And you've got to love Italy, where everyone's in lockdown and apparently people are all on their balconies singing. Oh, look. Okay, so can't avoid the bloody virus any longer. I hope I can get out. I'm going to have to cut my trip short and try and get out next week, although there would be worse things than being in quarantine on Skopelos. If you want to know what it looks like, it was in Mamma Mia, the chapel scene in Mamma Mia. That's where I am in Skopelos. Okay, so I'm going to do my take on the awful coronavirus and see what the cards may have to say. Advice on the virus. There we go. So this will be general, and then we'll drill down to how it's going to impact on Trump, I think. Okay. Oh, the other thing that happened, intrepid viewers, my computer crashed 2 days ago, which is why I'm a bit late with this recording. And it's traumatic, as you know, when your computer goes down. But some gorgeous boy fixed it here for a quarter of what it would have cost in Australia. So that's why you have me coming live and direct to you. Okay. What can you tell us about the virus? Let's have a look. Got to do this on a weird angle. All right. So the display is a bit awkward here. All right, so in the center of this reading on the virus, there's the Four of Wands. This might seem weird because it's like a wedding card or a celebration card, but for me, the Four of Wands always has an aspect to it that it's a celebration that slightly falls short. So in other words, in relation to this question, this was life going on, thinking the virus was just going to stay in China or not thinking about it at all. So there was an element of things just going on. Then in the past actions, we have the card of nostalgia or the card of childhood, in this case, the card of naivety. Not enough action was taken, thinking like children, in other words. The current thinking the message about the economy. So this is the thing that's worrying most people, not without reason. The complications for people in the gig economy and everything else are just so profound. So the message on the economy is what is going to have the lingering effect. So it's not just the stock market, it's not just the big picture stuff, it's everybody is affected. In some way, there'll be some financial impact. Over the reading, this is the governments everywhere coming in with the law and order thing, clamping down heavily. Very different from the original response, which was la-di-da, fingers in the ears. Here we go. This is the government, more or less on a global scale, acting, and they're doing as much as they can in most countries, except America, as we know. So here we have the atmosphere. Everyone is still embattled. It's in progress, right? So it's still an active state. Infections are still going up. Although in China, if it's true, they've reached a peak stage and they've got more people now who are well than new cases. Let's hope that's the truth. Okay, and I certainly hope so for Italy and other places. But as we sit here, we are still in battle. And it's a waiting game. And unfortunately, there will be more deaths, but it is a waiting game. Right, so we shall have a look about how it's likely to pan out. See if we can get some sort of time frame here that we could anticipate. And then we'll talk about the Yeti's response. What a statesman, what a leader. Isn't he amazingly? Okay, so what's the trajectory of the virus? I think that's the best way to ask it. What's the trajectory of the virus? What can we all expect? The trajectory of the virus. Oh, you couldn't get better, nicer cards, actually, for a big question and a very important question like this. We have on top the Lovers. This is people working together, pacts and alliances and things, and I think I'm certainly seeing it in Europe. I hope it's happening in Australia. I hope it's happening in America. People are being amazing about supporting each other. But in any event, it's nice news. We do have the Page of Cups. We're still in an emotional sort of state about it all and waiting for some good news about it. So it's still bit of a surprise on the horizon. But after that, we have the Star, only the most gorgeous card in the tarot deck, hope and inspiration, followed by the Ace of Pentacles, which would indicate some sort of financial recovery. Now, what I find interesting about this is, I digress, viewers. I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking this. Awful as this is, really ghastly as it is, it has exposed the Yeti for the inept leader that he is. Imagine if he gets the summer of hurricanes on top of this. It'll be obvious even to the most passionate devotee or cult member. Not the best card to have in charge. Someone described him, I read during the week, he makes Nixon look trustworthy and he makes George W. look smart. And it's so true. Compared to anyone else, he's so spectacularly and singularly ill-equipped to be the leader of anything. at all. I mean, this is a guy who cheated Monopoly. He is, oh, there go my cards, the bottom of the barrel. Excuse me while I pick them up. I can't see with my big Greek hair. So if we get a few reversals after this, you'll know why. Okay, so what I want to know now is, I'm hoping that's just not an idle wish. I hope people are seeing him for what he is. So let's look at the impact on Trump. First of all, his doctor, who must have got his medical certificate in a Cheetos packet, said he didn't have to be tested. Now he says he has been tested. And all these famous people, like Sophie Trudeau and Tom Hanks and everyone, testing positive. And I was just talking to a friend here today and was saying, how come all these famous people are getting these tests? So it seems to me there's a 2-tiered or even a 3-tiered system. If you're rich and famous, you can get the test. And if you're one of us, you have to wait. So let's have a look at how it's going to impact on the president and the presidency. What's happening here? Fool, indeed. Oh, I wonder if that's Nancy. Well, here we have the fool. It'd be tempting to say the man is a fool, but that's a given. I think it's a bit more complicated than that. The fool is the beginning of the tarot and the beginning of the journey. I think digression 2, viewers. I think to a certain extent his presidency is starting again right now. He has had such a golden run, and astrologers say this guy has such a lucky chart. We all have to suffer because he's got a lucky astrology chart, but there is a point at which time things catch up with him. But the fool, it's like starting now, he has to prove whether he's up to the job. He is not, for 2 reasons. 1, he isn't up to the job. B, he doesn't understand the job. There's more than 2 reasons, obviously. 3, instead of leaving the professionals in place, he's replaced people in all these huge positions, you know, with the intelligence services and all these things and chief of staff. He's just replaced them with performing SEALs. So his presidency, to a certain extent, is starting now. If you think of it like that, try and forget the pain and just go, here he is. He doesn't know what to do. He's a very simple creature in many ways, which is me, me, me. Is this good for me? And that strategy simply isn't going to work in a time of national crisis. So he doesn't know which way to turn. His huge Yeti head is just lobbing from side to side, stuffed with hamburgers, and he really doesn't know how to react. His normal thing, which is he's already been doing, let's blame this on Obama, who hasn't been president for 3 years. That sort of crap is not going to wash anymore, and he doesn't have an alternative. I think this represents the younger Trumps. Now, I refuse to call them the Trump children. As you know, they're in their 30s. They're his adult criminal offspring. I will only refer to them in these terms. And that organisation led by George Conway and others, I think it's called the Liberty Alliance or something. So they're conservatives who are anti-Trump, have started these ads. And I know one of them is about Ivanka, but the Dems need to get on the front foot with this messaging, particularly about voter fraud and stuff. They need to be flagging it now, going, you wait, he's going to claim all this voter fraud and stuff. So they need to get on top of that issue, and they need to get on top of the adult offspring. How dare they go for Hunter Biden? Why didn't the top echelons of the Dems chew them off at the knees when that happened? They have to start talking about this stuff. And I'm talking the pyramid selling in Panama, the money from the Russians, the money from the Saudis, the money from the Qataris, all of it. The employment of undocumented immigrants on Don Jr.'s vineyards. Wouldn't you like to see the books on Mar-a-Lago? That their tax returns, not just his, Trump org. In other words, I want to say Trump org, who pilfered their own charity, that Trump org. All of that is contained, for me, in this card. Then we have the Queen of Pentacles. I think this might be Pelosi in the sense that she's managed to get through this budget of sorts. This is Pentacles and money. I think this is a little nod to Nancy. We'll see. Then comes, here we go. This is how this is going to impact on Trump. This is the USA card. Thank you to whichever reader suggested that, because I've now adopted it. The star, which we just had earlier as in more normal thing, but this is the star as the USA. Moving away. People will be moving away from him. How could they not? Okay. So my dearest ones, I am going to be in Skopelos for another few days, and then I have to get back to Athens by boat and try and get a flight to Australia. So wish me luck with all of that. I love Europe, I have to say, because everyone knows who a sociologist is. You put on the news in Europe and they'll say, we'll talk to a sociologist about the coronavirus, we'll talk to a sociologist about climate change, we'll talk to a sociologist about everything. In Australia, no one knows who a sociologist is. You know, it's just how it is. So, oh, Evaristo. Oh. Well, dearest intrepid one, thank you. That's my hotel manager who comes in smoking a cigarillo and just gave me an ouzo. What can a girl do? I guess I have to drink it. So yamas, I love this country. I'll see you ever so soon. Oh, I did not organise that. This happens every day. Often I have to pour it down the sink because it's too early for me to have a drink. But cheers. Bye now. That's classic.